Hello, metalsmiths. So today we're going to learn about chasing and repousse. So I'm hoping that you went through the PowerPoint presentation and you watched those other two videos that are in there right before this one so that you have a greater foundation as to what in the world is chasing and repousse. So in the metalsmithing world, chasing and repousse is used with thicker metal, and you're usually hammering into a different type of surface like sand, pitch, air, and you're creating these divots in these recessed areas with a different set of hammers and a different set of steel tools. So today we're just going to dabble with copper foil to get the idea of what chasing and repousse does, and we're going to use a couple wooden tools that have been adapted. So the main thing with chasing and repousse is that it's a flipping of the surface. Okay, so when you're doing chasing, you're hitting it from one surface, and when you're doing repousse, you're doing it from the other side. So the first thing that you need to have are your tools. So make sure you have your design cut out to the right size, and it's just a line drawing. And remember, it's inspired by nature, so what did you come up with? I bet you it's cool. All right, then you need your copper foil. You need your 3 tools that I gave you. Now, this one that has a point on it, I went outside and hit it on cement, like basically sanded it so that it was a little bit rounder. I recommend you doing that too. Got a little popsicle stick and then like a cotton swab. Piece of tape, a ballpoint pen, and then a pencil that's not very sharp, a dull pencil. Okay, first thing you're gonna do, and then you have this rubber pad that I gave you, this little foam pad, and I'll talk about that in just a second. Now, you have a piece of copper foil that's super sharp, so be really careful when you're handling it. The first thing we need to do is bend down each side, about 1/8 of an inch. Like, don't take it in a lot because you're gonna lose some of your design surface area. So carefully bend it down, push it down with your fingers, and then use your rounded wooden tool to kind of go over it and press it down. And this is you're bending it back so that it's folding it on the back side. You're gonna do that around each side, okay? So that eventually you have something that looks like that on the back side. I'm gonna go over it with, you can use your pencil too. Whatever's kind of rounded, kind of really push it down, flip it over, and then it's less likely to cut you because you've rounded the edges. Still be careful though, okay? Now, next step, tape your image down using masking tape, because you don't want the image to move on you because you want it to stay where you want it to be. Otherwise, you'll have lines that you don't want to be there, and you've pressed them in to the surface. So I'm going to do a little piece on each side. Okay, so now I have this back. First thing I'm going to do is I need to get these lines in my metal so that I can start to create my design. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to use this ballpoint pen, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply pressure so that I'm pushing into the metal, but I don't want to rip it, so there's like a happy zone there. So just be mindful. I'll do a couple little marks and then I'll pull it up and show you. So I'm just drawing over my pencil lines with this pen. I like to use pen because it's not super sharp, and I can tell what I've already gone over because it's making a pen line over the pencil line. But please don't draw on pen. Do your sketch in pencil. Ain't nobody that good not to use a pencil. Come on now. Okay, so I've drawn, this little section right here. And if I pull it down, you can see the impression. Now when I'm working on the top of the surface like this, it's called chasing. If you turn on the back, it's pushed out, okay? So I'm gonna go along this entire tentacle, my entire drawing, and just retrace over it so that I have my design, my drawing on my metal, okay? I'm not going to do that here because it's going to be a big waste of your time. So there I go. Now, here's a piece that I've already worked. So if you can see up here, I've really, really worked this part and I made my way down. So down here by the end where the little curl is, I haven't really repoussé and chased that much. That's just the line drawing that I just showed you. So I worked all of this by flipping this project over and forward. I'm gonna show you a little bit of that right now. It's a long process, but once you get into it, it can be really, really fun. You just gotta pay attention to what side you want each thing to be on. So from here, I can look at my drawing and I'm like, okay, I got some little things I wanna push out and I got these lines. So what I'm gonna do, place your project on top of the foam because that's what allows it to give. So I'm gonna go over my project a little bit, refine some of the lines, and I'm gonna use a dull pencil actually, picked up the wrong thing, because I won't make marks on my project. And I'm kind of going over some of my lines here so that I can kind of figure out, okay, I'm gonna push in, but I want parts to push out. So where do I want them to push out? I'm gonna flip over and I'm gonna find those and I'm gonna say, oh, I want these sections to really push out. And so I kind of use my popsicle stick to kind of get it started. The rounded part really pushes it out. So I'm kind of working down. I'll show you where I worked it out. I'll show you when I flip it back over. So I'm working on the back side for a little bit, repoussé. And different tools are gonna get me different results. So I kind of like pushing it all out with a bigger tool, flipping it over, refining the line, pushing it back down alongside next to it. So it's like it's like a flip-flop, flip-flop. So as you go along, you'll see that you just kind of take each section at a time. I kind of worked up here, kind of made my way down. I dipped it in liver sulfur so you could see it a little bit better. But there's a lot of flipping on that because if you look at the back side, that's what that looks like. So I have a lot more work to do, but just know that if you outline it and then you flip it over and you start pushing the parts out that you want to be pushed out, and you're going like in an order that makes sense to you, and then you flip it over, check it out, make sure it's there, refine it back down. So you're pushing and pulling, and eventually you'll have this beautiful, beautiful relief sculpture that you will then create a frame for later in class. All right, I'll be there to help you in class. This is your at-home project though, but hopefully this helps you. I'm excited to see what you all do. Thanks.